So we're going to move on now. Super Six game of the week, sponsored by DraftKings. We'll have the column coming out, and we're going to talk about America's game of the week: the Bills and the Seahawks. Bills are a 3-point favorite in Seattle, who I don't know if we know if DK Metcalf is going to play.
They said grade 1 MCL, which is, I think, just mostly week to week. So if he feels good Sunday, he'll play. If he doesn't, he won't play.
So the question going to be, what will the outcome of the game be? Bills by 3 or more, or the Seahawks to get the cover? I feel like a lot of people are going to play the Seahawks here, coming off the win in Atlanta. Buffalo still with some defensive problems as well. But the Bills' offense looks really, really good. And obviously Seattle's been giving up points left and right to pretty much every team that they play. I would look at a higher scoring game potentially in this one. For the Niners bets that we have, I would hope Buffalo would win. But again, it seems they get so many of these toss-up field goal-ish type numbers this year. I just don't know what to do with this one, even though I think the home dog will probably be pretty attractive here.
I like the under here, actually. I think, you get two good defensive coaches, and just looking at the forecast for Seattle, some rain, some wind. It's going to be, we're getting to the point of the year where some of these games, weather's an issue. Again, McDonald and McDermott, both, especially McDermott, defensive, conservative. If no Metcalf, that hurts the explosive plays. To me, I could see, I don't know, 23-20 type of game. So I lean towards the under. And you mentioned the home dogs. I'm sure John could speak to this. When is the last time a home dog covered? It has been road chalk here for a few weeks. All of these parlays, these money line favorites, they all just seem to hit every week after it was all dogs cashing the first 6 weeks or so. It's been all chalk the last couple of weeks, especially these road favorites.
I can tell you guys, Will, that when you on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I go upstairs to these meetings to explain what happened. And I tell everybody that all the road favorites won. They all look at me like, I don't care what you're saying. Come in with better results than that. That excuse doesn't fly too well for us. I will say on this game, Buffalo -3 at Seattle, no one seems to know what to do with this game, guys. We don't really have much action on either side. It's surprising to me because on paper, this looks like one of the more interesting matchups of the week. This is a week with all these huge favorites and presumably a lot of very one-sided games. This looks like a pretty competitive game in the afternoon, and there's just not a whole lot there. I'm sure we'll end up needing Seattle when the game starts because, the action's more concentrated in the afternoon. There's fewer games, so there's going to be more money on Buffalo than there are some of the favorites in the morning. We'll need the Seahawks. It'd be nice to think that a road or a home underdog could win a football game well. I mean, in theory, that could happen at some point this season, right? So I will be rooting for Seattle.
Johnson,
make my life easier next week.
We are all about making your life easier. That's the goal of us here, to make your life as easy and the best quality of living that you can. So how far below you mentioned the Chiefs and the Ravens have kind of separated themselves? Like, do you think the Bills are a player in the AFC, or do you think we're just steamrolling towards the inevitable Chiefs-Ravens AFC Championship game?
Look, I don't know if it's inevitable. Buffalo's going to win the division, so they're going to get a home playoff game. And I think Josh Allen's the best football player in the world. I mean, I think the guy is so unbelievably talented. But so do I think he could steal a game against Baltimore or Kansas City? I do think that. I think Baltimore and Kansas City are both way more complete teams than Buffalo. I would take Baltimore and Kansas City's coaching staff over Buffalo's coaching staff 10 days out of 10. I don't even think it's close, but could Allen steal the game for the Bills? I think he could. I think he's that good. But, you look at Mahomes' numbers, and our boy Sammy P has been railing against Mahomes being the MVP favorite, and I understand where he's coming from, but every single time Mahomes needs to make a play, he does. Always. He always comes through. So it's just hard. It's hard to pick against anybody, but it's hard to pick anybody but Kansas City, Bear.
I agree with Sammy, by the way. I can't believe Mahomes is the MVP favorite right now.
Every time he needs to play, he gets it. So, I mean, it's incredible. He does it every time. You cannot stop the guy. When he needs it the most, he makes the play.
I said this the other day after the Chiefs game, and I think it sums them up well. Like when their best is needed, they play their best, right? Like in those moments where it's like we got to close out a game, which they did against San Francisco. It's 3rd and 8. We got to make a throw. There just happens they make the plays. Other teams sort of fail in those moments, right? We've seen year after year, and the Chiefs just make those plays when it matters the most. They might not make the plays this weekend to cover 10. We'll find out. But in this game, I wouldn't look at last week's Seattle game as any indication of what the team is going to be. I think we're all on board with the Falcons sort of not being as good as their record was. And Seattle's offense inside, Geno Smith throughout his career has played really well. As Will mentioned, they're back home. The weather's a little bit different. No DK. Buffalo off a big win with Amari Cooper. Not some sort of big emotional win, but Amari Cooper back in there, had a touchdown, looked really good in this offense. I have nothing for this game. I probably won't bet it. There'll be nothing I play.
So we're talking about the big sports weekend out in LA, or you even want to talk about big football weekend in Vegas. UNLV, Boise on Friday night, and then on Sunday you got the MVP favorite Patrick Mahomes against the Coach of the Year favorite, right? Antonio Pierce, John.
Yeah, he's Coach of the Year favorite in my book for that field goal he kicked on Sunday afternoon against the Rams. I mean, we didn't do too well in some of the games on this past Sunday, but I can tell you guys that the Raiders covering with a field goal down by 8, which I don't really understand.
247 to go.
I wasn't much of a math guy in college, Bear, but that didn't make a lot of sense to me. I can tell you that much. But as somebody who was rooting for the Raiders to cover, and as somebody who had the Rams in a survivor contest with Splash Sports, I will say that I almost felt like I was the one that sent in the field goal unit on Sunday afternoon. That's how delighted I was to see that team trotting out onto the field. Rams win 20-15. Good result for me.
Bear Bets full episodes drop twice a week right here on the Bear Bets YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to stay ahead of the odds, and let's celebrate all of our wins together.